Okay, I mean, I guess this is the best that we're going to be able to do. Let's see. Oh my God. Okay. Ugh. Okay, let me just run through everything. Okay. Oh my God, Becca Talks back. Oh my God, I have not seen you in forever. I hope little rigatoni Tony is fabulous. Aw. Oh, thank you for joining me. Yeah. Do I look okay? I feel like I'm very blocky in this. I tried to go for the blazer. Okay, so let me practice a little bit. Hi, my name is Maureen. I was in the classroom for 12 years, marketing for 15. For the past 5 years, I've been an online course creator. When I was in the classroom, I did day school, night school, summer school. I tutored homeschool children, and I also had a 6th period. So every single day started at 7:30 and it ended at 10 o'clock. And the only break that I had was driving to school, the different schools. So it was 2 different high schools at night, 1 high school during the day. So I was almost always at 2 different high schools in a 24-hour period. There was no night school on Fridays, thank God. And then, so then I would also drive to the kids who I tutored's houses. So it was a lot of work. And although teaching was a lot of work, I felt like it used to be very stable. And then I went into marketing, which is the absolute least stable thing you can get into, is the least stable industry. I don't think I have ever been in a more cutthroat industry. Marketing is, it's very tough because the thing is, it is simple. Marketing is simple. Like, you have a product, you advertise it, and you think, my God, this looks great. You did all your research. But the thing with marketing is you have to be consistent. So for a lot of people, like, they don't know that it's a lot of ebb and flow. And so I kind of rode that wave of marketing. So that was really interesting. That was tough. Okay, let me try again. Okay, so hi, my name is Maureen Castellon. I was in the classroom for 12 years. I was an English teacher. I did day school, night school, summer school. I tutored homeschool kids. I had a 6th period. I taught every grade except for kindergarten, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but I taught almost all the preps. I spent 8 years in 8th grade. High school was 3.5 years. And then I was an adjunct professor at a local. Oh, hi. Oh my God. So I tell everyone that my dog is a Ridgeback because at the park, there is a Rhodesian Ridgeback. And it looks exactly like my dog, except for the Rhodesian Ridgeback's ears are down and mine dogs are up. But so I have spent the past 25 years in some form of education slash marketing. So again, for those of you that just joining, I was a teacher for 12 years. I did day school, night school, summer school. I tutored homeschooled kids, and I also had a 6th period. So that was a lot. And and then I left teaching because I had been ghostwriting business books on the side. And I finally got a good enough contract where I could put my name on something. I mean, they later took it off, but I was able to have a business book that became my calling card. So I left teaching and I went full time into marketing. And it's so funny because teaching is such a stable job. It's a very crazy job, but marketing is the most unstable job, the most unstable industry. Like, I remember one time I went to lunch, and when I came back, half of the office had been fired. And then it happened again. And finally someone was like, don't go to lunch again, Maureen. So 12 years in the classroom, and then 15 years in marketing. I was a copywriter. So I was able to do SEO, and I cross-trained for everything. So it wasn't just, I did copy, content, editing, SEO, social media. And I got in when it was the dawn of social media. I got in when people were like, do you really think social media will take off? Is it going to be snake oil? I don't know if people are going to like having their pictures up all the time. And I saw it. I was like, I need to get on this. So I spent some time studying social media. I was a social media manager for a local furniture chain. And then I graduated to Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. And I learned every facet of marketing. I was the copywriter for Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. I was the email copywriter for DC United. My God, so many things. And my SEO was my strongest suit. I topped the SERP, the search engine results page for 10 million results for the Holy Trinity of watches. So when I tell you it was teaching, The Great Gatsby, because I was an English teacher, and then it was SEO, it was social media, it was like all these things. It was so wild. It was so wild. But it was pretty cool. And then, hey, Dennis, how are you? Are you having a good Friday? So then what happened was I was starting to get a little sick of marketing. Because the thing with marketing is it's very intense. It's not like teaching and marketing are very intense, but in different ways. So after a certain point, I was like, I feel like my nerves are shot with marketing because I'm good. Thank you for asking. After a certain point, marketing becomes very challenging to do in like a set environment. So like my business partner is Jasmine Partida, and she does marketing. She has all her own business. She does very, very well. And she does marketing with her own hours and in her own home and everything like that. So it's easier. But when you go out of your house to do marketing, it's just harder. So I did marketing for 15 years, learned every facet of marketing. My God, if you asked me the secret to do anything, I could tell you right now, which is, we'll get into a little bit later, but that's what sets my program apart. I have Sell by September. The link is in my bio. It's $60. It's a 6-part course, 6-part program, and it shows you how to take your existing skills as a teacher and transmute them into a stream of passive income through online courses. And yes, there's a lot of programs out there, but I feel like what makes my program so unique, and especially at this price point, is because I spent 12 years in the classroom, and I was really in the classroom, And then I spent 15 years in marketing, and I didn't get to it, but I transitioned during the pandemic. I was like, I'm tired of marketing. What else can I do? So because the pandemic had hit so hard, I became an essential worker at a telecom company, and I was their copywriter. And then I noticed that they didn't have any sort of training materials. And what they did have was just basically like a Google Doc with like bullet points. I was like, this isn't acceptable. So I went and I redid all the training, and I became co-director of learning and development. They didn't have it before, but I became co-director of learning and development on the copy and content side. So copy is shorter form, and content is longer. My dog might join us here for a second. Good girl. Good girl. But that's what I became known for. And it didn't matter how successful I was as a copywriter, everyone still referred to me as the teacher. Like they thought that was such a compliment, oh, well, you get stuff done and everything like that. So corporations love teachers and veterans. So we'll get into that in a second, but what I put together, so let me retract. I did 12 years of marketing. 12 years in the classroom, 15 years in marketing. And then I spent 5 years as an online course creator. I am now a LDX copywriter / instructional designer for a very big corporation, but I'm not going to say what the corporation is because people sometimes get funny about it. And so I'm not leaving the classroom. Like, even though I've made good money from my online course creation, I'm not leaving the classroom. I'm not leaving my job because I don't feel like you have to leave your job to be an entrepreneur. I know that there are a lot of people out there who really buy into the cult of entrepreneurship. And it's like, well, I just got to do it. I just got to jump in and, jump and God will, provide the wings. And I feel like that is such horseshit. And I feel like that's why so many Americans are in debt, is because we're feeding them this lie that entrepreneurialism is easy, and it's very difficult. I am a tough person. I had an Irish Catholic mother. And when I say Irish, she came from County Mayo, like when she was 25. So I had a tough mother, and entrepreneurship is still hard, and we moved around a lot. So I was always in new environments and doing different things, but it was very, very hard. And I feel like a lot of teachers are like, well, I need to stay in the classroom because maybe my kids are in school. Maybe the insurance is really great. And those are all super valid points. You don't have to leave the classroom. You don't have to leave your job to be an entrepreneur. What I did, and it's actually so funny, one of my friends and I were talking this week, and she is a superstar copywriter. I mean, this girl is untouchable. She is such a gorgeous girl, so strategic. And she and I were talking about the cult of being an entrepreneur and how people get lured in, and then, they take out loans, or they, mortgage their house, or they take out a credit card. And, because there's that myth that if you work really, really hard, you're going to be rewarded for it. And that's what kept me going for years. I mean, I was doing day school, night school, summer school, a 6 period, and homeschooling, tutoring homeschool children. And I still had to go to the food bank. I still went to the dollar store. I'm sure they locked up all the toilet paper in the McDonald's in the country because I kept on stealing it. And it was not a case of, if there were 50 hours in a day, I would have spent 49 of them working. So that idea that you just have to work really, really hard and your results will come is not true. It's just not true. But that doesn't sell. If I were to, oh, nice. If I were to tell you, hey, marketing is simple, but it's not easy, and you're going to have to dedicate, at least an hour a day to social media. You may be like, well, Susie over here, she tells me that I don't have to, that she only works 3 hours a week with her program. I'm going to go and look at her program. And then you go and you look at her program and she's selling you a pipe dream. Like, the one thing that I know that we as marketers talk about is the amount of gaslighting that goes on in marketing, which, is not a surprise. But it's kind of disheartening because you do have to put in work. So when people hear passive income, they think, oh, well, that just means I just build it and it'll happen. That's like when I wrote my first novel, Winter's Mermaid, available on Amazon. I wrote the book, took me 6 years. And I thought once I published it, and I shopped it around, but then it was like 2008 and New York wasn't doing so well. So my book had interest. It just didn't get picked up. What's it called? You have to be building your audience. You have to be nurturing your audience. Like right now, I'm here on a Friday night, in my pajamas, doing a live because I want people to see my face and think, okay, well, here I am, I'm ready to answer questions. Any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them, because I feel like part of marketing, more than anything, marketing is now gearing more towards community, because yes, the likes are great, but it's really the engagement. You really want engagement. You really want community. So I really wanted to, reach out to teachers, because when they did the latest round of budget cuts, I was very upset. I'm not even going to talk about, the scene in the Oval Office where there's kids and, there's a executive order to cut their funding. And then, with PBS and everything. Okay, so hold on. I can't get political. But I was very upset because teachers, like Bernie Sanders says, teachers are really the backbone of this country. They are really shaping the future. And we pay them like they're optional rather than them being essential. Like, teachers are essential and they get paid like they're optional. They, their hard work never gets rewarded. Like, they don't know. I have a friend and he started as a music teacher in February. And I started as a 3100 in December. So we were mid-year teachers. So we didn't get paid the full 12 months. And he didn't have a curriculum. He's a music teacher. He didn't have a curriculum. And he had to develop it on his own. And, there was no real support. And I remember when I was, a new teacher, my God, those teachers were mean. They didn't want to help. They were always like basically trying to kick my legs out from underneath me. And it was like, ladies, we're on the same team here. So I was sitting at home and I saw the order being signed. And I was like, I have to do something. So I stopped working with solopreneurs and corporations on the side. And I just completely focused on teachers. I developed this program, Sell by September, for them. Again, it's a 6-part program where I show you how to take your existing classroom skills and turn them into a stream of passive income. So my program is geared towards teachers who are like, they do their full day, and then they either DoorDash, coach, tutor, or they sell to other teachers. Like, they're exhausted. They're so tired, but it's like, if I didn't work, I didn't eat. So I was always super, super stressed out about that. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't get a break. So I remember being a teacher and just always being so stressed out, never having enough money, no matter how hard I worked. My first year was in 2001. And I made $20,000 when I worked at a private school. And then I made $32,000 when I went to public school. And my rent was $800. And my car, from all the gas, insurance, and everything, car payment was $500. Because remember, I was driving around a lot to work. So I didn't have any left over. And it was so funny because everyone was like, well, if you're working so hard, shouldn't you have money? And it was always the privileged people like, what's your grocery bill? My grocery bill isn't high. And it's like, yeah, because you go to your parents' house and raid their fridge and you're allowed to. I didn't have that. My mom died when I was 23. And my father has been out of the picture almost since I was born. So I, didn't have, a lot to, I didn't have any emotional or financial support. So it was really tough. So I thought about all the teachers who, don't have time to get a certification, don't have time to learn new tech, don't have time to get, caught up on marketing and know the ins and outs of marketing. So this is, my course, my program, Sell by September, is designed for teachers who are just at their wits' end, who do not have any extra time for anything. Like when someone asks me, hey, what do I do in my free time? I'm like, what free time? In this economy, free time, really? So this is for teachers who, don't have time and they need a solution because you can't get a second job. Like I had multiple jobs when I was a teacher. I mean, I was so hustling, but I was also in my 20s and 30s, and you can hustle hardcore in your 20s and 30s. When you hit your 40s, it's kind of like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Like you do hit a wall. You really, really do. So this program is designed for teachers who, see the writing on the wall where education is going, and they need more options. They need some breathing room. And my program, you do not have to leave the classroom to be an entrepreneur. I know a lot of teachers are told that, if you just work hard, you can do it. Just believe in yourself, just fly, and, the net will appear. And that just doesn't work. If you don't have like that parent privilege, or, if you don't have a trust fund, or, coddling parents or anything like that, if you're down to your last dollar, someone's saying to you, just, use the law of attraction, use The Secret. That doesn't work. It's so annoying. So what I do is I have a 15-minute free masterclass. The link is in my bio, and you can sign up for it, and you're going to get 15 minutes, and I'm going to show you the first 3 steps in becoming an online course creator, because teachers have such valuable skills. So you have organization, you have facilitation, and you just have know-how. So when you are in the classroom, you take very complicated information and you break it down for different age groups, and you think to yourself, oh, well, anyone can do this. And that's not true. Like one of my greatest assets is I used to be a teacher, so I can take really complicated information and break it down into 3 to 5 step processes. Do you know how much money corporations pay for that? For the ability to take really complicated information and break it down, and then not only present it, but like really make sure that you get results, because teachers get results. And we learned how to work on our own. Like, good girl. I work from my home, but my job, sorry, Waffles is drinking water, but my job knows that when I'm up and about and I'm working, I am working. There's no because when I was in the classroom, if I didn't do it, no one else was going to do it. Good girl. You want to come up on the sofa? Yeah? Is you good baby? We have to go back to the PARK a little bit later. It was too hot for her. So, you really, really don't need a second job. Your skills are so in demand. The thing is, there's so many so the course industry right now is worth $1 trillion, because the standalone courses are worth 300 billion. But when you factor in corporation courses, it's $1 trillion industry easily. So you can make 300, you have the skills that are desperately needed in $1 trillion industry. $1 trillion industry. So think about that for a second. You don't have to learn new You don't have to get a certification. You don't have to learn anything new. You don't have to like juggle around with tech. You already have the skills that you just don't know how to use them. You have course creators like Chad in Missoula who, what's it called? Chad in Missoula, he uses AI to generate these online courses. He's in Mima's basement chugging Mountain Dew, and he is making like 10 grand a month on these online courses. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the first thing about, Bloom's taxonomy or anything like that. He just knows how to market what he does know. And what he does know is that people are willing to buy online courses. So you have that distinct advantage of actually knowing how to take information, break it down, and present it in a way that gets results. Like, you have the skills to dominate $1 trillion industry. I'm part of that industry, and let me tell you, it is fantastic. It is fantastic. I got another former teacher started on editing courses. That's all she does. She doesn't even like design new courses. She just edits. And oh my God, there's so many things. So, you don't have to learn new tech. You just need, as I say in my free masterclass that you can download now, you just need Zoom, you need Canva, and you need a social media platform. That's it. That's it. You can make $10,000 a month with just that. That's it. That's all you need. You don't, and is it time consuming? You do have to go live. Marketing your online course is simple. It's not easy. You do have to go live. You do need to post on social media. You do need to shake hands and kiss babies on these internet streets. You cannot sit there and be like, oh, this is going to be easy. Oh, I'll just design an online course and it's going to be so good that people come to it. No. So in my course, in my program, Sell by September, which is only $60, and you're going to get the full program. You can download the full program, and and one of the modules is a marketing module. And not only that, I am also bringing in my business partner, Jasmine Partida, and she has 17 years of marketing experience. I have 15. So that's more than 30 years of experience in marketing, showing how to market your online course, how to leverage the social media platforms, how to do things like webinars. We show you the ins and outs. So not only we're going to have someone who has 15 years of experience, also someone who has 17, but you're also going to have someone who is actually in the classroom. And I think a lot of people kind of poo-poo that in a way, like, oh, well, you have 12 years. Okay. But I know what it's like to sit through a PD. I know what it's like to sit at back to school night and knowing that the parents that didn't show up are just going to have their demonic children, and give me the hardest time all year. I know what it's like. I know what it's like when the bell rings to just want to put your head down and turn off all the lights and stay in your classroom just to have a moment to yourself. I think some people don't know. It's like talking about teaching is like dancing about architecture. Like, unless you've actually experienced it, you can't put it into words. So I have my 12 years of teaching experience, 15 years of marketing, and I've worked with shoestring budgets. So speaking of that, you do not need a big budget. I'm going to show you how to market. I wouldn't say free, but very, very shoestring. I show you how to, you don't need to know a lot of tech. You don't even have to have a big following. If I have, 100 people in a live, that's enough. If you have 200 people who buy your $60 product, your $60 course, that's $12,000. So you only need like 200 people. And, if you get on a live like how I'm doing now, and people know when to find you and they know when to talk to you and that you're a real person, that won't be, hi, Amani. That won't be so difficult to do. You don't need a big following to design your own course. It helps while you are building your course. You should really be building your community as well. So it'll never be a case that you have zero following and you design an online course and everyone's just going to flock to it because your course is so good. What you have to do is you have to market each step of the way. And like I said, in my program, I'm going to go more in depth. I'm also going to bring in my business partner, Jasmine Partida, because marketing is simple. It is not easy. And you have to know how to really reach your target audience. And I actually talk about that in the program, how to reach the right niche in the right way at the right time with the right message. And I have a trick that I use that's foolproof, because when I was a social media manager, they were like, how do you know what your niche is thinking? And I wouldn't tell them my secret, because I never tell anyone like my little tricks. But well, I mean, I do in the program. But there's certain things that you know how to do after, God, 25 years in education and marketing. That's insane. It's insane, especially since I am only 25 years of age right now. But again, you don't need a big following. You don't need to know a lot of tech. You don't need to bring a small fortune into this. Designing your own online course, again, all you really need is Zoom, Canva, and a social media platform. So you divide social media platforms into two. So this is kind of where on my lives, I practice my message. I had to do a certification test, and I was barely able to, who do you market it to though? Okay. So I love this question. Thank you for asking, Amani. So when you are a teacher, you can design courses that are for other teachers, are for parents, are for students, for anyone that's in a niche that you like, to other solopreneurs, because I tell you, other solopreneurs are desperate for online courses. And you can even market to corporations. Like Amani and I work at the same corporation, and, they don't do this, but I know other corporations will have like fractional learning and design copywriters. You can pretty much market to anybody. Let's say, so Amani is an incredible cook, incredible. Do you know that I would pay top dollar for a course on how to make something like chicken soup, or like something really basic, because I'm not a very good cook, but I would pay top dollar for a class on cooking, like a class on cooking that broke everything down. Amani, a great idea. Oh my God. I was just talking about it earlier this morning. A lot of people right now are on Ozempic and Mounjaro and those, I don't remember what they're called, the GPs or whatever. And so what I have heard through, like, in my friend group, whatever, is that a lot of people are being told by their doctors that they've been on it too long and that they're hurting their liver and they need to get off of it. And the problem is, a lot of people have not fixed their eating habits. So they're now trying to figure out how to eat healthy, because they've been basically starving themselves for so long. So if you, like Amani, you would have someone who doesn't know how to cook at all. That's someone that you could sell a course to. You have someone who is just learning how to eat very healthy, so they have to do very simple meals that are low calorie, high protein. You have parents whose kids are on the spectrum, and they have food aversion. So an idea for a course would how to cook for your picky kid, how to cook when your child is on the spectrum. And then, another course that people do not, and I would have needed when I had fibroid surgery. and I was in horrific pain for like 3 months. It was so painful. And I would barely be able to feed myself because um I still had to, take the dog out, and I had to sit in a very specific position all day because I was in so much pain. So people who are recovering from surgery, so they need really nutrient dense food that's also easy to cook. And the big thing, Amani, is prep. People need prep like you wouldn't believe, because I would love to do meal prep, but like all my food is gross because I don't know how to cook that well. Um, and so one would be how to batch prep, and like how to batch prep so your food tastes good when you reheat it. Because I know when it comes out of the freezer, for me, it's gross. And then, there are so many corporations that sell cookware. When I was in like the home decor space, in the real estate space, I wrote so many articles about cooking. And a lot of times they didn't seem authentic or anything like that. But if you get into the home decor space, you can, oh my God, I can't tell you how many articles I wrote about hors d'oeuvres, appetizers, main courses. I didn't even know what I was talking about. So, if you can sell an online course, you can also on the side pitch yourself as the expert and write articles. So you can sell your course. Uh, and also, because what a lot of corporations do is they contract out freelance copywriters or writers. And so you can, like what I would do is I would write my articles, and then I would say at the end, you can find me at my website. And if you have an online course, you could write for corporations, and then at the end, you can also sell your course on your website. So, I mean, and there are solopreneurs, there are people who are so desperate to have a niche. And so many people are trying to be in that trad wife niche, like that Martha Stewart or Nara Smith niche, and they have no idea how to start. So, Amani, another idea would be cooking to be an influencer, or influencer cooking, or something like that. Like you could do a course on what's simple and what looks good on camera. And I don't know if you have, like, this is how to photograph food. That is a big one. I mean, all the tips and tricks. So there you have parents, picky toddlers, kids on the spectrum, busy moms who have to get off Ozempic and they still need nutrient, high protein, low carb, low calorie food. You have single moms who maybe don't know how to cook that well. You have solopreneurs who want to start a business. They want to sell their cookware. They want to sell their photography. They want to sell whatever. And then corporations. I mean, I love me a corporation. They usually have money, and there's so many ways to work with them. You can always, what I did is I ghost wrote that book on digital marketing and social media. If you guys DM me, I'm more than happy to share a copy. And what's it called? Oh, I lost my train of thought. 1 second. I was saying about how there's so many different facets you could go to in corporations, and sky really is the limit. The only thing that I always tell people, and this is something that people don't necessarily think about, you have to get super granular with your niche. I mean, granular to the point where if you sent them a text message, you would know exactly how they would respond to certain things. So like for me, I am a spooky girl, as you can tell by my little by that and by my pillows. I am a super spooky girl. Where do you market? Oh, I just answered that one. Where do you market it to though? Like so there's a couple of course platforms. My favorite is MemberVault. I think. Oh, thank you. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. I love corporations because when I did freelance copywriting, it was very feast or famine. It was very ebb and flow. I could get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do 3 shifts of writing, and it wouldn't necessarily move the needle. So it was very, very up and down. I find that with corporations, it's more of a steady flow. One of my friends a couple of weeks ago was saying, I'm really worried about the economy. Because she's a freelance copywriter. She's like, I'm really worried about the economy. I don't know if my clients are going to have anyone to sell to. And I was like, yeah, that's rough. And me being us being in a corporation, yes, the economy affects us, but it's never going to affect us to the point where we don't know if we're going to eat next week or not. So when I say that, I always tell teachers, don't feel like you have to leave the classroom to be an entrepreneur. I'm not leaving my corporate job. I mean, and especially with the economy being the way that it is, you really have to take into consideration that being an entrepreneur is a wild ride. And the best way to make money is to already have money coming in. So like if there's a delay, if something doesn't hit right, you're not, desperate, because and I got a lot of really good results being a copywriter. And I knew how to do everything, SEO, social media. It still was hard. It was never a case where I felt like, okay, I got this. But then when you're in a corporation, you can learn new skills, and it won't cost you money to learn new skills because you're already getting paid. Like the corporate life is for me. My friends were, we were talking the other day, and my friend who had encouraged me not to go into a corporate job, she's like, they're going to really work you hard. And I was like, no, this is a good place, and I like the people I work with. So I'm not going to I'm not going to give that up to chase the dream of being an entrepreneur when I can do both at the same time. And she was telling me that, for a lot of years she thought I was nuts. And then she said, I realized that you were smart, because I never missed a beat. When I was in corporate, I could try things. I had a steady paycheck coming in, and I would dedicate 2 hours a night to doing my, online course creation. So I never had it so that I had to dip into my savings because I had a bad month, or I had to play it safe. I had a lot of wiggle room to experiment because I had a steady paycheck coming in, and because I really don't buy into the myth of being an entrepreneur is the greatest thing ever. It's pretty great. I'm not going to lie. Being an entrepreneur is pretty great. But for me, that paycheck every 2 weeks, that knowing that I, am going to have a job next week, that I have money coming in, that I can plan for things. Like when I was designing Sell by September, I made sure that the language was that teachers could stay in the classroom if they wanted, or they could leave if they wanted, or if they wanted to do something. Like I adjuncted the first 2 years of my marketing career because the marketing was so up and down and so scary. But yeah, I don't really buy into the myth of being an entrepreneur. But I'm also I am also a very hardcore realist. So, and I live in Miami. So you can have like hot pink Lamborghinis going down the highway on the 836 or going to the beach, and people go to Carbone's and, have like a bottle of champagne, and they're popping bottles. And I immediately can tell who has money and who doesn't, because when you have money, you don't want anyone to know that you have money, because you have been so used to people asking you for money. You're not going to advertise. So a lot of people now are and it's come to light, because I had a friend who was, my God, I mean, she was just the envy of all of us. She had, vacations to Dominican Republic, like new bags, like always getting the latest facial treatments. And then she came to me the other day and she was like, do you think you can show me how to do a course? And I was so shocked. I was like, you're always very flashy with money. I didn't say that, of course, but it turned out that she had taken out a line of credit on her home. So she put herself back, like, God, like 30 years just so she could impress people for 30 minutes who she'd probably never to see again. So, the people, and also my favorite thing, and I like, once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Maybe your favorite creator has been taking shooting videos in their private jet. Okay, I can't remember his last name, but what happens is it's just like a prop. It's like a film set. And so you don't even sit on a runway. You can just sit outside like a warehouse or whatever, or like someone's apartment that's, they have a space that's built out to look like a private jet. So they're sitting there on the private jets and they're telling you, buy my course so you can be successful. I'm in a private jet. And when you see your creators in that private jet, notice how the light doesn't change at all. It's just steady sunshine the entire time. If you've ever been so I used to fly to Asia a lot. I used to go to Thailand, and the light constantly changes in airplanes. And you don't really notice it if you're just like going from like Miami to New Orleans. But if you're like on a 12-hour flight, the lights always change. And, the whole plane isn't brightly lit up because there's always someone who wants to close the blinds and sleep. So if you look at those videos, the creators that are in them, their faces don't change. The light doesn't change. There's no movement. So if you notice, a lot of times they skew the angle just a little bit. So it tricks the eye into knowing that it's not on steady ground. I can't remember what the light trick, the angle is called. But it's so funny because now when I see like other course creators and they're in their private jets, and I'm like, shut up. You are in someone's like apartment, or you're like in a warehouse. You're not on a private jet. But people fall for it, because we're all so excited to have this myth of being an entrepreneur. And it's not for everyone. It's very tough. And do it on the side. I don't know when it became so taboo to have like a corporate job and do something on the side. Like, that's what I do. I finish my corporate job. I take the dog to the PARK. I come back and I do my stuff. I set a timer for 2 hours. Well, I did have to, and Monty will will back me up on this. We had to take a really hard certification course. And so those 2 hours, I couldn't, I still made money on the side because of my online course creation, my other courses that I created and programs. But, I couldn't really do that much. I had like the certification that I needed to study for, but I built my business in such a way that it's passive income. So if a situation like that comes up, I can say, you know what, I have to take care of this. When I was a teacher, I would not have been able to do that certification course. I would not have been able to get that certification because if I didn't work, I didn't eat. And those 2 hours a night, I couldn't give that up to study. So, and there's his name is Justin Welsh. He got laid off. All right, you guys, hold on 1 second. Oh my God. So there's Justin Welsh. He is a LinkedIn legend. He got laid off and he was panicking. He was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And he was like, well, the course creation industry, I think at that time was only worth $200 billion. And he was like, well, I'm really good at LinkedIn. Maybe I can sell a course on LinkedIn. So he created this course called LinkedIn OS, and it was only for like $97. And in 3 years, he made $4 million because he stacked each course on top of the other. And he also charged a reasonable amount, like $97. If you're like trying to break into LinkedIn, $97 is nothing. So he priced it well. And he sold it on LinkedIn. He sold how to be great on LinkedIn on LinkedIn. So, he had this idea. He built it once. So all those people that think, oh, I'm going to build all these courses through AI and everything like that. No. You take one course that sells something very specifically to one specific niche, and you market the bejesus out of it, and you can build a course just once and you can sell it forever. The only reason why I switched over from my one course to my program and course for teachers is because of the executive orders. Because I felt like teachers were getting the shaft, and I was very upset. I was like, I'm going to change a lot of my stuff and I'm just going to make it for teachers. So when I had a break in studying for my certification, I started finishing my projects for the solopreneurs, and then I wanted to focus exclusively on teachers. So, there's my free masterclass, which is the link in my bio, and you can download it now. But also my program, Sell by September, is $60. So if it was a 6-week program, it's $10 a week. That's doable for my niche for teachers. So he not only had one good idea, he had one really great niche. He got very granular with it, and he marketed only one course. So if you think to yourself, oh, I don't have time to build a course every week. I get it. I can do it, but I've been doing this for like 25 years. You don't have to create a new course every week. There's a course on Udemy, and it's called, and it's in my masterclass. And it's basically drawing. So it's a beginner to advanced course on drawing. And it's like 2 hours long, which is, your course should never be more than 2 hours. And this has made, and it's $154, and it's sold 85 million. And that course was made in 2022 or 2023, sometime during the pandemic, where everyone was looking for courses. And they built this course once. They market it very well. But they just have one course. And that's like when you go to a kitchen. There is a barbecue place in Birmingham, Alabama called Dreamland Barbecue. And I don't know if things have changed, but you just sell barbecue and Wonder Bread and like sodas. And that's it. It's just the ribs and white Wonder Bread and like sweet tea. And that's it. They don't need to be like Cheesecake Factory that has a bajillion items. You just need one course. Justin Welsh did it. Who else did? Oh my God, so many other people. That art class. And I saw it, and it's in the masterclass. I saw it and I did some research on it. And, the creators were like, we just knew how to draw. We built a 2-hour course. We marketed it, and they've made so much money. And you know what the thing is? You can do it too. What's stopping you? The only reason why people are very successful is either dumb luck, like Chad and Missoula, who figured out how to create courses with AI, and they're only selling because more teachers aren't in the online course industry where they should be. So he is tapping into a niche that the people who should be doing what they're doing are not, or people are very strategic. And, when I was doing social media, I learned exactly how to talk to a niche. So it's not necessarily that you talk your niche's language, you talk their dialect. So the example I use, and I live in Miami, so the area codes are 305 and 786. When someone's like, oh, I'm from Miami, and you exchange numbers, and then they say their area code for Broward, you're like, you're not a Miamian, So you really have to be very granular when it comes to talking to your niche. And I show you how to do that in my program. I show you how to do a little bit in my free masterclass, where the link is in my bio. As long as you talk to your niche in a way that resonates with them. And the thing is, with niches, everyone wants to be the person that has something new and cool. Hold on. Everyone wants to have something that's very new and cool, and have hey guys, can I pause this for a second? I have to charge my phone. Okay. Hold on one second. I have to do this without disturbing the dog. Hold on. Okay, sorry. I charged my phone, but still, good girl. Here we go. Oh God, now this is going to throw everything off. So when you are okay, I'm gonna have to do it this way. Oh my God. So when you are when you are creating your niche, when you are researching your niche for your course, you just have to get as granular as possible. That's it. Like you just pick one topic, one niche, and then you launch. You don't need to have an existential crisis over what's going on or are people going to buy and this, that, and the other, because it will be slow in the beginning. It absolutely will be slow in the beginning. That was so weird. That was one of my old lives that just all of a sudden started kicking off. That was so weird. Let's see what else.